Hello everyone, Jai Hind and welcome to the platform of StudyIQ IAS in English. My name is Bhanwar Singh. I'm ex-NDA 115th course and qualified civil services in 2012 and I welcome you on the platform. And once again, we are here and we'll be doing the Hindu analysis today. And Sagar, good morning. Rishi, good morning. Ramu, good morning. Who else is here? Dhruti, Jai Hind. Ramu, good morning. Who else is here? Please type in the message and let me know that you're watching this session live. And we'll be doing the Hindu analysis once again. Today is Saturday and 9th of May. And we'll be moving forward and we'll be doing we'll be going through all the important articles, important news articles which had been there in our today's The Hindu. All right, Dhruti, Jai Hind. All right, so let's start off with the topics that we'll be discussing in today's session. And the first important thing that we'll be discussing is about the US and Iran conflict, that is the Strait of Hormuz crisis, as well as the crisis, the India's energy crisis that is dependent upon the Strait of Hormuz. Jyoti, good morning. All right, then we'll be talking about the Operation Sindoor as well. The new doctrine, because this had been featured in the editorial, and again, it is an important piece of the news article that will be moving ahead and we'll be discussing in our today's The Hindu analysis. Tanmoy, hello, and Jai Hind. All right, then we'll be talking about the West Bengal as well, the BJP victory as well as the national security. This is also in the editorial, and again, we'll be going forward and we'll be analyzing which all things had been mentioned in this editorial. All right, then we'll be talking about India-Bangladesh illegal immigration standoff as well. All right, then we'll be talking about the Calcutta High Court, about the Great Nicobar Island Forest Rights Act challenge. Then we'll be talking about the contraction that had been seen in the MGNREGA report for 2025 and 26. Jai Hind, Tanmoy. All right, and then we'll be talking about the NITI Aayog, the school dropout report, and also India's data governance challenge. Again, this is when it comes to this part, this news is also featured in the editorial. So these are the important piece of the articles which are there in our today's The Hindu that we'll be discussing in our today's session. All right, so let's start, and these are the quotes for today. All right, these are the three quotes that you can use in your answer framing for the mains. The first one is that a nation that cannot secure its own energy cannot secure its own destiny. All right, again, it is very important because moving forward, when it comes to the energy dependence or the energy security, that is very, very important for any of the nation to develop in the future. Or we can say that the development of any nation that depends upon the energy security. So therefore, this good morning, Nishe. All right, and Kaizen, good morning. All right, so over here, again, when it comes to this quote, this is very important because when it comes to the development of any nation, that depends upon its energy security. All right, so there you can use this quote whenever you are writing about the energy security. Then, the institutions are strongest when they remain steady, even when politics becomes noisy. Now, this quote you can use while you are writing any answer related to the standoff that we are seeing in Tamil Nadu. All right, so over here, we see the institution of the governor. Ultimately, this is when the politics, it becomes noisy. We have seen that the institutions, they remain they lose their significance or relevance as well. So therefore, whenever you are writing anything about the institutions and the politics, over there, you can use this quote, institutions are strongest when they remain steady, even when politics becomes noisy. And the third one as well, that the grammar of governance lies not just in the intent of policies, but the precision of the data that informs them. Again, this is very important when it comes to the data that we'll be analyzing in our today's session. The data that pertains to NITI Aayog report, the data that pertains to MGNREGA report. Ultimately, it is, when it comes to the policies are driven by the data, and the precision of the data is very important when it comes to the implementation and even the formulation of the policies. So these are the three quotes that you can use for your mains answer writing. Good morning, Krishna. All right, now coming to the first news that is there in our today's newspaper. It is about OMCs or oil marketing companies. They are losing 30,000 crore a month on petrol, diesel and LPG. That was said by Sujata Sharma. She is Joint Secretary And again, this is very important because this directly pertains to the West Asian crisis that we are seeing. All right, at the same time, related to this particular news is these two articles, that is the Strait of Hormuz, why US Project Freedom couldn't secure a free navigation. Now, this is in the comparison with the tanker wars where the US was able to force the Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. But at the same time, when it comes to the project or the Project Freedom, here it was that the US had to suspend its Project Freedom just a few hours after that it had been announced in the public. All right. Again, another news is that US-Iran trade fire threatening truce, and UAE also have reported attacks. So again, there is a fragile truce that is between US and Iran, and that is there are the chances that the truce or the ceasefire, it may be violated, and again we can see the escalated tensions in the region. But however, let's see what will happen. This is just a thing that is, that pertains, and it is again very important geopolitically as well as economically, because this news, it directly hampers the West Asian crisis, the complete, geopolitical tensions which are there in the West Asia, as well as it also connects to the economy of the globe and especially the economy of India, because Indian economy, it depends upon, or when it comes to the import of the crude oil and the LNG. So we depend upon the import. All right, we do not have the resources, and ultimately we also depend upon this West Asian nations for maximum of our imports. All right, we have seen that in the previous sessions, I have told you that how we are, diversifying our needs, our resources, and at the same time, we are diversifying the countries through which we are importing the oil. And in this context, we have seen that the oil import from Russia, that has also risen. All right, in the past, the oil import that we are doing from the Russia, that has also risen considerably. Now, when it comes to the oil marketing companies, they are losing 30,000 crore per month on the petrol, diesel and LPG, because when it comes to India, the LPG, although the commercial LPG prices, they have increased, but when it comes to the domestic LPG, when it comes to the petrol and diesel, the prices have remained stable. And ultimately, what the government is doing, this complete, the burden, it has been shifted to the oil marketing companies, and they are losing right now 30,000 crore per month. The Brent crude is at $100.75 per barrel, and this is as per the future trading for the July 2026. All right, this is where there is the future trading that is going on, and that is the price of the Brent crude in the futures. All right, at the same time, when it comes to the Project Freedom of US that was launched to open the Strait of Hormuz, that had been suspended. There are total 13 of the Indian flagged vessels which are there in the Strait of Hormuz, and the LPG use have fell by 15.7% in March. Now, this decrease of the LPG use was basically because of the government which have prescribed to move forward towards the PNG and the LNG resources. Now, when it comes to the complete scenario, all right, when it comes to the complete scenario over here, there is that the government, if it will cut the excise duty. All right, so ultimately excise duty had been cut, and that is leading to the revenue loss in the for the government as well. All right, there is revenue loss that we are seeing, and this revenue loss is of 14,000 crore per month. The commercial LPG, the price had been hiked to 993 per cylinder, and this is the second hike that we have seen in May 2026. Also, there are under recoveries, and they threaten the financials of the public sector enterprises, the oil marketing companies, and there is the fiscal deficit that is mounting pressure in the Indian economy as well. There is current account deficit that is getting widened, and the LPG cuts, they have hurted the MSMEs and even the migrant workers as well. So it has a social implication as well, not just economical implication, it has social implication as well. And the inflation, it will erode the real wages when it comes to the agriculture workers, when it comes to the migrant workers, and ultimately that will strain the Indian economy as well. Rupee is collapsing day by day. It is a diplomatic failure of government. Why is India silent? So again, Rishi, we are not silent. The RBI is doing all the things that are there in their hands. But at the same time, what happens is, that if the RBI will move ahead, All right, there are the conditions that if the RBI will use, you can say, stringent practices, and ultimately that could lead to stagnation, all right, and that could lead to inflation as well. So over here, there is a balancing act that both the monetary policy as well as the fiscal policy, they have to see that which balance or how to maintain a balance between the economic progress as well as the inflation that is there in the country. All right. Now, coming to the next news, it is again an editorial that is there, and it is about the Operation Sindoor, a watershed moment in India's defense posture. Again, very important news article that you will see, or the editorial that you will see in today's The Hindu. The next important article related to Operation Sindoor is about the Joint Commanders Conference that was held in Jaipur. And ultimately, this is the Operation Sindoor is a symbol of India's new military ethos, and that had been said by Minister Rajnath Singh, who is the defense minister right now. Now, when it comes to the Operation Sindoor, it was launched on or launched at 1:05 a.m. on May 7, 2025. Now, this was India's response to the Pahalgam terror attack that happened on 22nd of April. Now, there were 9 of the terrorist targets that were struck in Bahawalpur as well as Murudke in Pakistan, and later on Pakistan Air Force also retaliated to these attacks. The Pakistan retaliation, it came on 9th and 10th of the May, and ultimately because of this, India had retaliated and struck 11 of the Pakistani air bases that were there. Later on, ceasefire was secured after 88 hours. This was complete 88 hours of the operation, and the ceasefire was requested by Pakistan. Now, when it comes to the complete, shift, when it comes to the editorial portion that is there in our today's Hindu, so it says that there had been a complete doctrine shift when it comes to India's stance. All right, old doctrine was that there were reactive restraint, and also there were dossier approach that the India was moving ahead when it comes to Kundan. Good morning. When it comes to the when it comes to India and Pakistan relationships. All right, so when it comes to the old doctrine, so it was the doctrine of the reactive restraint as well as dossier approach, but there is a new doctrine that had been founded after the Operation Sindoor. And this doctrine is of the doctrine of zero tolerance, that there will be no tolerance when it comes to the terrorist activities, and also when it comes to the cross-border terrorism activities, they are equated to the act of war, and ultimately India has the right to respond in such kind of circumstances. All right, Indian Air Force, it had struck Noor Khan base, Sargodha as well as Murad and Bolari bases, and it was during the Operation Sindoor that we have seen for the first time S-400 missile systems. So S-400 missile systems, they have denied the Pakistani airspace, and at the same time the Navy has blockaded the Karachi airport as well. Now, this is where the Prime Minister Modi have defined it, the red lines, that is, it is the permanent and the irreversible signal that India has shown to the world that we will not tolerate any kind of the act of terrorism that will be there. So this is how the things escalated. It was that on the 22nd of the April, there was Pahalgam attack, and ultimately Operation Sindoor was launched on 7th of May. Then on 9th of May, Pakistan Air Force, it had retaliated, and ultimately India have struck the 11 of the Pakistan air bases, and thereby on the 10th of noon, the Pakistan had requested the ceasefire. All right. Now, coming to the next important news that is there in our today's The Hindu is about the BJP's priority, that is, it must end, or it must be to end the violence that is there in the West Bengal. So we know that in West Bengal, BJP have emerged as a largest party. And again, this complete news article, it talks about how the BJP should end the violence that is there in West Bengal. Another article is also about it. And over here, this is about, when this article says it is that it is very significant for the national security perspective that the BJP had been, or it had come to the party ruling, or it will be the ruling party that will be there in West Bengal. All right. So when it comes to West Bengal, BJP has won a tremendous majority when it comes to the West Bengal. All right, over here, BJP has won 207 of the 294 seats. And when it comes to 2021, it was just 77 seats that were there, and in 2016, the seats of BJP were just 3. Now, Suvendu Adhikari, he will be the first BJP Chief Minister of West Bengal, as well as Adhikari, he had defeated the Mamata Banerjee in Bhabanipur by 15,115 votes as well. And this is not the first time. He has defeated Mamata Banerjee even before in Nandigram as well. And Home Minister Amit Shah have said that this victory plugs the biggest hole that is there in the national security. Now, Trinamool Congress, there were different reasons why Trinamool Congress stature had been eroded in the West Bengal, that this article says. It was because of the teacher recruitment scam and even because of the RG Kar rape murder case. And over here, when it comes to the Citizenship Amendment Act, so Citizenship Amendment Act had mobilized the Mathua and the refugee committees for the BJP as well. And that is also one of the factors why BJP secured a huge margin. Also, when it comes to the allegations, so there are allegations that the SIR or the Special Intensive Revision had been used. This role was the key for the BJP, and that is how the BJP have mandated a huge victory in West Bengal. Now, BJP strategy when it comes to the West Bengal had been that there was a booth level expansion as well as Hindu consolidation. And when it comes to the Bangladesh border, again, this is very important because we have the largest border that we share with any of the foreign country, that is with Bangladesh. It is 4,096 kilometers, and out of this, 2,216 that lies in West Bengal itself. All right. Now, when it comes to the BJP, so BJP government now, when it comes to the BJP, it is now from the Gangotri to Ganga Sagar that they have a complete stretch, or these states are under the BJP governance. And also, when it comes to the ideological milestone, so this is a complete shift in the politics of West Bengal that we are seeing. Good morning, Sachu. You are a great mentor, helping a lot, sir. Do you provide PDF of daily current? Yes, of course. For the PDF, let me tell you that there is a Telegram channel. You can join my Telegram channel at the rate BHANWAR_StudyIQ. Alright, this is my Telegram channel where the PDFs are uploaded every day after the session. Alright, just after the session, the PDF gets uploaded. Alright. Yes, 4 states when BJP, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Assam. That's true. Alright, now when it comes to the complete implication, so there had been a complete total ideological milestone for the BJP because this is the first time that the BJP government will be forming in West Bengal itself. Also, when it comes to the anti-infiltration crackdown, it is possible because till now West Bengal was ruled by a political party that was not in the center. Now we will have the center party that is there in the West Bengal, and ultimately that will be a tool where the anti-infiltration crackdown will be possible. And this is because that there would be better BSF and the state police coordination that we will see in the country. Also, when it comes to the investment climate, it may improve. The investment climate, it may improve in the West Bengal. And again, unemployment is one of the reasons that there is lots of tensions in the West Bengal. So there would be the investment climate, and but when it comes to the investment climate, so it may get deferred because of the post-poll violence that we are seeing in the state right now. All right. When it comes to the violence, so we have seen that there had been 321 of the party workers which had been killed. There had been forgery allegations, as well as there is the horse trading concerns, and these all concerns are also, as much as they are the concern for the internal security, they are also concerned for the ethical perspective as well. What is the important course in West Bengal election? I really not understand. Tell me, sir. So I was telling you that this is the first time that the BJP or the right-wing party had been elected in the West Bengal, and that is the important course of the West Bengal election that we have seen in the recent recent past. All right. I don't think in Kerala. No, Kerala it is UDF. In Kerala, it is UDF that have won the election, and UDF is backed by Congress. All right. Yes. And Tamil Nadu as well. In Tamil Nadu, it is TVK, which is not backed by BJP. BJP have not secured a win in Tamil Nadu as well. Yes, that's true. Now, Tamil Nadu, it is not Congress. Tamil Nadu, it is the TVK party. All right, Tamil Nadu, it is TVK. In the when it comes to the Kerala. In Kerala, it is UDF that is backed by the Congress. And when it comes to the BJP, BJP has won in Assam as well as in West Bengal. All right, coming to the next important news that is there in our today's The Hindu, it is that Bangladesh failed to give actionable response, and this has been said by India. Now, again, this is about the Assam Chief Minister and his remarks. What has happened was that India has sent total 1,137 notes verbal. All right, as well as there were 456 of the reminders that were sent to the Dhaka since September 2020. Now, over here, there are total 2,862 nationality verification cases which are pending right now. All right, and there had been no actionable response from the Dhaka as well. Now, this comes after there was a remark of the Chief Minister of Assam, and he have said that the BSF is basically pushing the Bangladeshis through the unguarded border. And later on, the Bangladesh had summoned the envoy, Indian envoy, to protest, and ultimately India had defended this through the note verbal of 30th of April. Now, when it comes to note verbal is basically the formal, unsigned. Please remember what is note verbal. Note verbal is formal, unsigned diplomatic communication between the two nations or between the states. All right. There is nationality verification as well, which is a prerequisite before repatriation under the bilateral arrangements between India and Bangladesh. All right. And also, when it comes to push-in, what is the push-in? Push-in is basically the contentious practice of border guards which are pushing the migrants across the state border. And the Ministry of External Affairs had termed the illegal immigration the core issue that is there between the ties between India and Bangladesh. Over here, Dhaka has a leverage. All right, when it comes to Dhaka, so they there is a threat of the adequate measures if push-in continues, and that is what Dhaka is saying, that if the push-in will continue, so then they will have or they will put the adequate measures in place, and ultimately that is a very important thing to note over here, because this is important when it comes to Bangladesh. Bangladesh is part of the neighborhood first policy of the Indian government. All right, and ultimately Bangladesh becomes very important for this particular reason. Now, when it comes to the complete situation, so this is where you should analyze the cause and effect relationship. Now, what happened was there was political instability in Bangladesh. Now this political instability, it led to the border infiltration into India, and ultimately because of this, India had issued the notes verbal to Bangladesh. There was no response. India started the push-in operations, and ultimately there are the protests from Bangladesh that had been lodged, and it threatens the action as well. Also, when it comes to West Bengal, now BJP has secured a victory in West Bengal, and that intensifies the pressure over BJP for the illegal migrants which are there in West Bengal and in the northeast, so that they could be sent back to Bangladesh. All right. In my opinion, one party should not monopolize the government. Like in North India, government should change in at least every 10 years. Actually, this is a debatable topic, and ultimately, there are lots of topics when it comes to politics. It is about that we should have a two political party system. All right, there should be only two political parties like we have seen in the West. But in the West, again, there had been emergence of the third political parties as well, where there were two political parties set up. So there are lots of things that could be debated upon the political setup that we have in India. But again, this is a debatable topic. All right. Now, coming to the next important article that we have is the Calcutta High Court. It rejects the centre's objections to pleas against the Great Nicobar project. Now, over here, what had happened was that the centre's preliminary objections were filed to the Forest Rights Act challenge petitions that are there in Calcutta High Court. And over here, this is about the 92,000 mega project of the centre. All right, this relates to the transshipment port, airport, township that had to be developed in Great Nicobar region. Over here, the petitioner is the retired IAS officer Meena Gupta. She is ex-secretary of the tribal as well as the environmental ministries. And upon here, the Calcutta High Court, it has dismissed the initial or the preliminary objections that had been filed by the centre related to the fundamental rights, the Forest Rights Act. Now, over here, the Calcutta High Court have said that this is a PIL or the public interest litigation, and of course, when it comes to Meena Gupta, she has the complete right to file the public interest litigation. The final hearing had been listed for the 23rd of June. Over here, the centre's res judicata argument had been rejected. What is res judicata? It is that that person does not have any stake into the complete project. All right, because over here it was said that she lives in Hyderabad. All right, she lives in Hyderabad, and again she had filed a case for the people of the Great Nicobar, and that was what it was said in the objection. Now over here, the Forest Rights Act, it happens because when it comes FR is in mind, in my mind, it is fundamental rights. All right. So there is this slip. Whenever I see FR, so my mind, it just connects it to fundamental rights. Now when it comes to FRA, that is Forest Rights Act, Gram Sabha consent is mandatory for the forest diversion. And I told you that when it comes to the consent, it should be that 50% of the Gram Sabha should be present, and along with this, 1/3 they must be women. All right, and that is a prerequisite for any of the forest diversion that had to be done when it comes to the forest rights. Res judicata is where the matter is already decided by the National Green Tribunal. It cannot be relitigated. But over here, High Court said that it is a different perspective in which the NGT have decided the matter. But now this matter is with the Calcutta High Court. There is locus standi as well, where the petitioner need not to be directly affected if espousing a tribal cause. That is what had been said by the Calcutta High Court, and that is that this is a public interest litigation or PIL. Now over here, there had been the buffer zone which had been reduced by the centre at the Campbell Bay and the Galathea Bay National Parks, as well as the Shompen tribe. They are very important over here because they are particularly vulnerable tribal group or PVTGs which had been affected. Now when it comes to the complete issue, so over here, this is a very strategic location that you can see, because it is very close to the Malacca Strait, and there are the national security imperatives as well as the economical growth that the centre is arguing in the case, that it is an important matter of the national security as well as for the economic growth of the region. The Shompen tribes, basically they are the PVTGs, and there are just about nearly about 200 of the population that is of the Shompen tribe group in this complete region. So ultimately, there will be risk to their habitat and culture and displacement as well. That is the major issue that is over here. As well as there will be destruction of the globally unique biodiversity in the region, and there are coral reefs, mangroves as well. And when it comes to the judiciary, so it is about the PIL admissibility, the judicial review of the mega infrastructure, and there has to be the rule of law that has to be laid down, which is very, very important for the current matter. Right, that is true. Locus standi is the legal right or capacity of a party to appear and be heard by the court. That's right, Krishna. Over here we have leatherback turtles which are here, as well as we have sea cow, that is dugong, and also the other vulnerable marine species which are here. All right. Now coming to the next important article that is there, it is about MGNREGA. It is about MGNREGA contraction in its scale and reach in 2025 and 2026. Again, this is very important because we have a new act that had been passed by the parliament, that is G Ramji Bill or VB G Ramji Act, and ultimately that will replace the MGNREGA. This will be the last report when it comes to the MGNREGA, and the person days according to this news, so the person days, they have fell by 21.5%, and there were 268 crores in 2024, and ultimately they are now, the person days were just 210 crores in 2025-26. When it comes to the households as well as the workers, so there were 44 lakh fewer households which had been employed, along with 67 lakh of the fewer workers which were employed in the MGNREGA. So when it comes to the total household drop, so it was 40.5% drop that we have seen in the complete MGNREGA, and the average income loss that it pertains to is 1,221 per household. Tamil Nadu had been hit worst by this crisis or the contraction. There was contraction of 42.8% in Tamil Nadu. Alright, when it comes to MGNREGA, MGNREGA provides for the demand-driven, right-based rural employment guarantee, and this MGNREGA Act was passed in 2005. Now we have another act that will replace MGNREGA, that is Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar Ajivika Mission Act 2025, and it will replace MGNREGA. There is transition allocation as well that had been allocated by the centre, and it is just only 30,000 crore rupees. And it is inadequate as per the Sangharsh Morcha that is there. Alright, the LibTech India is the the complete report. It had been presented and it had been projected by the LibTech India. It is the researchers' documented contraction, and this is basically not the official government data that we are seeing. Alright, this is not the official government data, but a data that had been presented by LibTech India. And when it comes to the wage rate, so in MGNREGA, the wage rate had been linked to the CPI-AL, or the when we have the consumer price index, which is about the agriculture labor. So that is where we have the wage rate that had been linked, and ultimately this is often below the minimum wage in some states as well. All right. Yes. Right. That is true, Ramu. Alright, at the same time, when it comes to the data, you can see that there had been total 21.5% fall in the percentage. When it comes to the average income loss per household, it was 1,221 as per this report, and there were drop in 100 days of the completion by 40.5%, and out of 20, the 15 states, they have recorded the decline in the contraction or decline in the MGNREGA employment. Alright, so this is where we have the complete attrition funnel, that there, when it comes to the registered households, so there are total 15.46 crore of the registered households, and how many of them had been actually employed? So they were very less, and also when it comes to the completed 100 days of the employment, they were just 0.22 crores. So this is where we can see the complete funnel, and it is contracting. Now coming to the next important report that is there, it is about the NITI Aayog. It flags low student retention and learning outcomes. These are the two things that the NITI Aayog report have said. Now when it comes to India, so there are total 14.71 lakh schools which are there, and there are 24.69 crore of the students which are enrolled. Now, there is a pyramidal shape that this report says, and this pyramidal shape is because when it comes to the primary schools, there are total 7.3 lakh of the primary schools which are there in India. And there are only 1.64 lakh of the higher secondary school. So there are lots of primary school, but when it comes to the secondary school, so they are very less. And this is what the pyramidal structure or the shape in our education system, it talks about. Alright, there are, when it comes to the dropout, so we have seen according to this report that there are 4 out of the 10 children that they drop out before the higher secondary level, and only 5.4% of the schools, they offer the continuous graded education. That is where there is complete 1 to 12 or class 1 to 12 of the classes which are there in the school. So it is very less, only 5.4% of the schools, they are offering the complete graded system of the education in the school itself. Also, this report says that there are 7,993 of the schools which are there. They have zero retention, zero enrollment. They do not have any enrollment, but still they are receiving the funds, and ultimately the records have not been updated, and that is why they are still getting the funds from the center and from the states as well. Now, at the same time, when it comes to the learning crisis, so when it comes to the grade 8 reading, so over here 74.7% they could read grade 2 text in 2014. Now this has declined. You can see this has declined. It has moved to 71.1% in 2024. At the same time, when it comes to the 8th maths, grade 8 maths, only 45.8% they can solve the basic division in 2024. Also, when it comes to the right to education, the right to education provides for the universal and the fundamental right for the education up to the primary level. But this primary level right, it ends at, or this is free education, this ends at the age of 14. Now afterwards, after the age of 14, when the right to education ends, the families, they bear the cost that is there. Alright, and that is the key reason why there is the dropout when it comes to primary to the secondary school. There are also 1.19 lakh of the schools that they lack the functional electricity as well, and the AI in curriculum had been launched from the grade 3 itself. It has been announced recently, and over here when it has been announced, there has been no teaching training plan that has been yet announced for the school education system. Alright, this is how you can see, good morning Pradeep. Alright, this is where you can see that there is the primary enrollment ratio. This is basically near 100%. Alright, the primary enrollment is near 100%, but when it comes to the secondary level, there is a retention deficit and there is lots of people who gets dropped out. Now, what is the reason? There is the push factor, that is the poverty and the lack of infrastructure. Also, there is the pull factor, that is the child labor and the economic pressure, and that leads to the dropout. And therefore, this is very important because when it comes to the National Education Policy of 2020, that focuses upon the vocational training, literacy as well as foundational literacy, and this is very important report when it comes to the NITI Aayog. Alright, the next important article is about the data. Alright, the data problem that is there in our complete system or in the policy benchmark, and this is again in the editorial. Now this shows, or this says that the NITI Aayog June 2025 report, it says that there are welfare database lists. Now in the welfare database list, there are the same beneficiary which are there, or they had been used multiple of the times. Alright. So a same beneficiary which is there in one of the list, he is also in the another list of the government. Now what happens is that this leads to the fiscal leakage from the duplicates. There is about 4 to 7% of the annual welfare spending that gets leaked because of this data mismatch. When it comes to the PM Kisan, so in PM Kisan there is 17.1 million of the ineligible names which were deleted, and ultimately because of this the government saved 90 billion rupees in just 2024. At the same time, there were 35 million bogus LPG connections and the government saving was 210 billion rupees. There were 17 million fake ration cards as well. So this complete analysis or the complete editorial, it talks about how the data that is very, very crucial for all the policies that could be framed and could be formulated, and the government, it can actually save lots of rupees when it comes to the fiscal leakages or the financial leakages. Now there are certain institutions that, like for example National Data Governance Framework Policy. Now it has proposed that there should be IDMO. Now this IDMO is India Data Management Office, and this is the proposed keystone body for the standards that should be laid down for the data management. Also NITI Aayog Data Governance Quality Index is there. It is proposed that this should be the annual benchmark for the data governance that should be there in the complete country. There is OECD as well, which says that the better public sector data sharing that adds to about 1.5 to 2.5% of the GDP. So of course, when it comes to data sharing, when it comes to data governance, when it comes to data management, so that could save a lot of things when it comes to the Indian economic regime. Alright. And also we have data.gov.in. This is India's open data platform, but at the same time we need standardization that should be included in this particular data.gov.in website. Now what is the problem? The problem is basically there is fragmented databases. There is no shared mechanism or the standards which are across the ministries to use for the data management. Now, the impact is that there are duplicate beneficiaries, there are conflicting databases, or like for example, when it comes to the healthcare database. So there is, conflicting TB cases that are counted. And therefore, the result is that there is wrong GDP data or wrong data that is interpreted from these multiple regions or multiple data where we have the duplicacy or duplicacy of the data that is there. And ultimately the fix is that there should be there is National Data Governance Framework Policy, and according to this, the IDMO, that is India Data Management Office, it should be it should be there, as well as there should be annual benchmark that is proposed, and this is the NITI Aayog Data Governance Quality Index, and this should be implemented. All right, we should empower the IDMO with the binding authority, and also we should align the complete data management in India with the UN system of national accounts, and this is why it is very important. All right, you can see over here when we have the fragmented architecture. So ultimately there is the leaky bucket, and there is about 4 to 7% of the fiscal leakage that happens annually as per the NITI Aayog. But if there will be data standardization, so with the data standardization and aligning it with the UN system of national accounts, it will lead to interoperability and even the real-time accountability as well. And this will help the government in framing the policies and even the citizen who will benefit from the programs effectively. Now, like the complete article says, when it comes to PM Kisan, there were 17.1 bogus names which were removed, and this saved $90 billion, rupees. All right, at the same time, LPG connections, so there was 35 million of the bogus connections which were removed, which saved 210 billion rupees. And when it comes to the ration cards, 16 million of the fake ration cards, they were eliminated, saving 100 billion of rupees. So again, this is very important when it comes to the data management and data synchronization between the various ministries. Now, the another important news is about DRDO and Indian Air Force. They have conducted the first trial of Tara glide system. Now, what this Tara glide system is basically, this is the Tactical Advanced Range Augmentation Weapon. Tactical Advanced Range Augmentation Weapon, or Tara. Now, what it does is that there are unguided bombs. The unguided bombs, they are just dropped, and you just drop and forget. You do not know where they will hit and in what region they will hit. But at the same time, these, the Tara glide weapon, it actually changes those unguided weapon into the guided weapons. All right, with a proper, technology, with a proper sensors, and ultimately those unguided weapons, munitions, they become the guided, and that is Tara weapon system. You can see the complete specification on the StudyIQ itself. All right, at StudyIQ English, there is the tab of videos. All right, so in videos, I have explained the complete Tara system that is there. All right, also when it comes to the two Indian ships, the two Indians that are there on the ship that had been hit by the Henta virus, they are asymptomatic. So there is MV Hondius. This is the ship that had been hit by the Henta virus. Against what is the Henta virus had been explained in a complete video that you can find on the StudyIQ channel itself. All right. There is another news. Again, they are important for the international relations. The first one is about Taiwan. Taiwan's parliament have approved $25 billion of the defense spending. Now, this is important because when it comes to Taiwan, China had laid its claims on Taiwan. And ultimately, China wants Taiwan to be its own territory. All right. And there are the chances, or there are the reports as well, that the China, it can launch an offensive to capture Taiwan. So again, on that basis, or on that note, you can see that the Taiwan's parliament, it is approving $25 billion of the defense spending bill, and most of it will be used for the US weapons. So again, this shows that Taiwan is aligning with US, which is again an adversary of China. And maybe tomorrow, in tomorrow's newspaper, we will see that the China had objected to this defense spending. That we will see. All right, Rishi. All right, at the same time, there is another news as well, and it is about North Korea to deploy new artillery guns targeting Seoul. Now, this pertains to North Korea and South Korea. And again, it is a very important topic, or the region, when it comes to geopolitical regions. All right, just like we have Israel-Palestine issue. All right, in the same manner, or in the same context, we have another issue that is of the North Korea, South Korea. It is as important when it comes to the international issues. All right. So again, this is very important because it said that the long-range artillery systems this year, they will be deployed, and they will be able to strike South Korea capital region, and also they will commission the first naval destroyer in the coming weeks as well. All right. So these are the important news that are there in our today's The Hindu, and now it is the question hour. like Ramu says. Alright, so this is the question R. The first question is there on the screen. Which of the following is correct regarding VBG Ramji Act of 2025? And let me tell you that when it comes to the prediction, this is at number 1 prediction that you will get a question related to VBG Ramji Act in your examination, this time in your prelims. Alright. 9-dash line. 9-dash line is basically the line or the region that the China, it says that it is its region in the South China Sea. It is 9-dash line. Alright, it maintains 100% central funding model for the wages. It guarantees 100 days of work annually. Then it introduces an agriculture pause for up to 60 days and it prohibits the use of biometric attendance. So what will be the correct answer? Nope. Rishi, we are talking about VBG Ramji Act. So there is no 100% central funding that was before in the Manrega. Now this will be in the ratio of 60:40 for the normal states, or you can say for the states without any special any special status, and it will be 90:10 for the special category state. All right. Then when it comes to it guarantees 100 days, not 100 days, it guarantees 125 days of the work annually. It introduces agriculture pause. Yes, that is true. And it prohibits, no, it does not prohibit, but it says that the use of biometric attendance is important. All right. Yes. Now coming to the next question, this is the India Data Management Office or IDMO is established under which entity? All right. We have NITI Aayog, Digital India Corporation, National Statistical Office, या फिर Ministry of Finance. What will be the right answer? Yes, biometric attendance had been mandated. What will be the right answer here? IDMO had been established under which of the entity? Tell me fast. What will be the right answer? So here the correct answer will be, it is not NITI Aayog, it is not National Statistical Office or Ministry of Finance, it is Digital India Corporation under which IDMO had been established. Yes, that's true. It is B. Now coming to the next question, Operation Sindoor 2025 is associated with which military doctrine? So it is associated with which military doctrine? We have the doctrine cold start, defensive circle, cold strike and strategic death. So when it comes to Operation Sindoor, it is associated with cold strike. Alright. Now, consider the following statements regarding the Operation Sindoor mentioned in the recent news. It was a maritime security operation to clear mines in the Strait of Hormuz. It marked a shift in India's doctrine towards considering cross-border terrorism as an act of war. It involved the maiden use of S-400 missile system in an offensive role. Which will be correct? Or which will be the right answer as per the options which are given in the chat. Alright. So what will be the right answer here? When it comes to this question, so it was no. It is not the maritime security operation. We have not launched any maritime security operation to clear the mines in the Strait of Hormuz. It was retaliation and the offensive that India launched because of the attack on Indian soil. And it marked the shift in the India's doctrine towards considering cross-border terrorism as an act of war, and it involved the maiden use of the S-400 missile as well. So here it will be 2 and 3, that is C is the correct answer. Now coming to the next question, the Data Governance Quality Index or DGQI is an initiative of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, NITI Aayog, Reserve Bank of India or QCI or Quality Control of India. So Data Governance Quality Index or DGQI is an initiative of which of the following? So the correct answer is, it is NITI Aayog. Alright, B will be the correct answer. Next, coming to the next one. Which of the following is the primary reason for pyramid problem in Indian school education according to NITI Aayog? Alright, so it is talking about pyramid problem. And we have the options: lack of primary school teachers, excess of higher secondary schools leading to resource thinning, structural fragmentation and lack of continuous grades 1 to 12 schooling, and high migration of students to private schools at the secondary level. So what is the reason for the pyramidal problem? Primary reason, sorry. The primary reason is the structural fragmentation and lack of continuous grades 1 to 12 schooling. That is the primary reason. Then data standardization in governance is most directly associated with. Data standardization in governance is mostly directly associated with increasing the number of departments, making data interoperable and comparable across institutions, reducing the need for parliamentary oversight and replacing statistical agencies. So what will be the right answer here? Data standardization, it directly is associated with what? It is about for the making data interoperable as well as comparable across the various institutions and ministries. So the right answer is B. Now next, consider the following statement about secondary school dropout issue. Access and retention are not same. Retention challenges usually becomes more serious at higher levels of schooling. Third, dropout has no relation to human capital formation. So what will be the right answer? The following statements about secondary school dropout issue, access and retention, they are not same. That is true. Alright. The retention challenges usually become more serious at the higher levels of the schooling. We know about this because of the NITI Aayog report. And dropout has no relation to the human capital formation. Of course, it has a relation to human capital formation. So the right answer will be A, that is 1 and 2 only. Now these are the questions that you can attempt for your mains answer writing practice. The first question is, the transition of West Bengal's political landscape highlights the shifting dynamics of Indian federalism where national security and regional aspirations are increasingly integrated. Critically examine, and this could be asked in your GS2. Alright, Rishi. Alright. Then analyze NITI Aayog's findings on learning crisis in India. Suggest a policy roadmap that moves beyond universal enrollment to foundational mastery. Alright, this could be asked in your GS2 or can be asked in your GS3 as well, because it relates to economy, it relates to the society as well. And then third, infrastructure development in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands is a sovereign strategic right but an ecological risk. How can India balance its Indo-Pacific ambitions with its commitments under the Forest Rights Act? Again, this could be asked in your GS paper 3. Alright, so these are the 3 important questions that you can practice for your mains answer writing practice. And this is the end of today's The Hindu session. Now we have seen that when it comes to the Operation Sindoor, that have permanently shifted the India's strategy and the counter-terrorism doctrine as well. Now we have moved to the zero tolerance in the event of the act of war. And again, this is now a irreversible doctrine that we have followed after the Operation Sindoor. As well as when it comes to the Hormuz can relate to the oil marketing companies which are going into the losses, and even the MGNREGA contraction that had been highlighted in today's report. You can connect these 3 reports or the news, and this is where you will find that there is a triple stress on the India's rural as well as the energy economy in 2026. Then we can see that when it comes to data governance, when it comes to Forest Rights Act, when it comes to RTE dropout, so these are the news where you have to analyze the cause and effect relationship. Alright, what is the cause, what is the effect, and ultimately what could be the way forward. And that is how you become a number 1 material. Alright, that is how you become a person who can score the rank 1. Alright, that is how you have to think while you are reading the Hindu. Alright, and also when it comes to the different interlinkages, you can see that Hormuz crisis, it links to the OMC losses or oil marketing company losses, the fiscal deficit pressure, and then it links to the reduced welfare spending as well. And ultimately, we are seeing in the report itself that there had been contraction in the MGNREGA. When it comes to the BJP's West Bengal win, it links to the anti-infiltration push towards the India and Bangla standoff. And there is now a complete deadlock when it comes to the note verbal. When it comes to Operation Sindoor, that links to Atmanirbharta in defense or Atmanirbhar Bharat And right now we have seen that there is a Tara trial that had been conducted by Indian Air Force and DRDO as well. And this shows that we are moving towards the indigenous system or ecosystem where we are focusing upon the MSMEs and the startups in the defense sector. When it comes to the data governance gap, that links to the welfare leakage and ultimately towards the MGNREGA beneficiary fraud, towards the PM Kisan cleanup, and even towards the fiscal savings that India could have, or the Indian government it could have. The school dropout pyramid, it links to the demographic dividend at risk and to the skilling deficit that we have right now in our India. There is a lack of vocational training and towards the target that India has of the $5 trillion of the GDP. And that is how you can link the various news and how they link towards each other. So how Hormuz affects MGNREGA? See, it is when it comes to the Hormuz. So Hormuz crisis, basically it is leading to the OMC losses. It is leading to the fiscal deficit as well. Alright, and because of the fiscal deficit, it is leading to, because government does not have the money. Government is paying more money to imports. Alright, it is paying more money to the imports, so ultimately it does not have money for the welfare spending, and that is how it could relate to MGNREGA contraction. Got my point? Because of the fiscal pressure that the government is having or government have for, or because of the import that India is doing of the oil right now. Alright, and that is how Hormuz affects the MGNREGA or the welfare spending of the government. Alright, so that would be all in today's session. Thank you very much guys for joining me over here on the platform of StudyIQ. But if you are looking for a lucrative optional, so public administration is one of the best optional you can have because of its size as well as because of its subject matter, because it directly leads to the your dream that you have, that is to become an administrator. So you will be in the field of public administration, and if you want to join the classes are starting from 15th of May, and you can join the classes with the code that is BRS Live. And also when it comes to the GS Foundation, the batches, the enrollment or the admission, it is closing on 10th of May. Alright, so we have two batches for the 2027 and for 2028. The GS Resolution P2I batch, and you can join these batches. Again, you can use the code that is BRS Live for the maximum discount. That will be all. Alright, so that is all, and it's kind of ripple effect. Yes, that is a ripple effect. And thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Shinobi. Yes, see you on Monday night. Alright, at the same time. No, night is your name, not on Monday night. We will see you on Monday morning itself. Alright, and thank you very much, Ramu. Yes, Kaizen. And yes, see you on Monday, Ramu. Kaizen, yes. Alright. Thank you. Thank you, Tenu. Alright, so that would be all. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me here. We will see you on Monday again at the 9:30 a.m. That is our timing for the Hindu analysis. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care and Jai Hind. Thank you, Rishi. Thank you, Dhruti as well. Thank you.